Welcome to our second country, Panama. We are currently in Panama City. Panama City is a really unique blend of old and new, where we have all of the modern skyscrapers as well as the old city of Panama with historic buildings, which we are going to go check out today. And we will of course be checking out one of the 7 wonders of the modern world, which is the Panama Canal.
We're Jordan and Soph. After living in Alaska for almost 3 years, we decided to quit our jobs to travel internationally for a full year, and we hope that you will join us for the journey.
So right now we're in Casco Viejo, which is Spanish for the Old Quarter. This entire neighborhood is just kind of like an old historic neighborhood here in Panama City. We actually just got done checking out the church behind me. It is an old church that took about a century to complete and was finished in 1796. Now we're going to continue checking out this neighborhood.
So we've been walking around this very picturesque area. It's super beautiful, but it's also really, really humid and hot. And so we're kind of melting. So we stopped by a place we just happened to find as we were walking around called the Cookie Jar. It has cookies, but it also has ice cream. We just got a double scoop of Belgian chocolate and brownie ice cream before we continue on our little walk over to the monument of the flag of Panama.
Today is day 2 in Panama. Yesterday we were at Casco Viejo, which is the old neighborhood of Panama. However, today we're going to Panama Viejo, which is actually the original city site of Panama. In 1671, the site was attacked, burned down, which is why they had to move it to where we were at yesterday. So yesterday, a lot of historic buildings, monuments, museums, and old churches. And today we're actually gonna go look at like super old buildings that are mostly destroyed at this point because of that fire and because of all the attacks. But it will still be a super cool way to see some of the history of Panama City. It's crazy to think that all this here was built prior to 1671. Like, I don't even know how they made all these stone structures without cranes or any equipment. It was just all sweat labor and hard work to get all this built. It's crazy. This is certainly a far cry from Alaska, where an old building there is like 1950s, maybe 1930s if you're lucky. Like, this entire area is just full of buildings that were built from like the 1500s. It's crazy.
So here is the tower of the cathedral, which would have overlooked the square. This tower had 2 functions, 1 to ring the church bells out over the city, and 2 to serve as a watchtower for oncoming danger that might be coming out from sea. 150 steps, here we come.
You know, 150 steps doesn't sound too bad until you're doing it in like 85-degree heat and extreme humidity.
The combination of old versus new makes for a really pretty view up from this point. Highly recommend a quick stop if you're here in Panama.
Now we're gonna head back down these steps and head on over to the museum, which is just a few steps away, to learn a little bit more history about this place. So this is a little model of what they think Panama Viejo used to look like when it was, before it was destroyed in 1671. Panama Viejo was the first Spanish settlement on the Pacific coast of the Americas, which made it such an important and unique place. We are now done here at Panama Viejo and are gonna head all the way across the city to Panama City's main attraction, and that's the Panama Canal. Gracias.
So we just got done walking through the museum and now we're out on the viewing platform on the 4th floor waiting for the 1:30 ship to arrive. Panama Canal has on average 14,000 ships that go through it each year. The United States used to have military presence here, but then in the 70s they signed it over to the country of Panama, so now the country of Panama owns and operates the canal that you see here, which translates to about 1/3 of its revenue for the country. With rising global demands for commerce, ships just keep getting bigger and bigger. So in 2016, Panama finished a 3rd canal to allow for bigger and larger ships to make it through from the Atlantic to the Pacific.
So we're just about done here at the Panama Canal and we have some mixed feelings about it. So going into this, my expectation was to come here, sit here for about an hour and see like 4 or 5 ships going through and it just being like super exciting to see all those ships going through. However, we've been here for about 3 hours. We've seen 2 ships go through and the 3rd one is just getting started. So needless to say, it's a very long process. The good thing about this is the entire time we were there waiting for ships to go through, they had like a tour guide or someone just kind of talking and giving us information the entire time. So we learned that the entire canal is about 40-50 miles long and it takes ships 8 to 10 hours to get all the way through. So that's part of the reason why it was taking so long to see each ship coming through. And then additionally, I always thought that the Panama Canal was kind of like, I don't know, like a river where it's just super flat or like a flat lake and they just go all the way through. However, it's way more complicated than that. The tour guide explained it like this. There's the oceans on either side of your shoulders, or the oceans are either one of your shoulders, and then in the middle is the Panama Mountains and just all the land. What they did to make the canal is make man-made lakes over the mountains. And so what has to happen is going from one ocean to the other ocean, they have to use locks, or almost like elevators, to go up to the man-made lakes, go through the land, and then come back down to the ocean. And so that is how the boats are able to cross from one ocean to the next, but also why it takes such a long time. Each ship that goes through pays on average $300,000. The smaller the ship, the cheaper it is. However, the bigger the ship, the more expensive it's going to be, and the biggest ships can pay upwards of $1 million. However, if these ships don't use the Panama Canal, they have to go all the way around South America, which can take 8 to 10 days, and is said to cost 10 times more than going through the canal. Despite my expectations, this is still a super fun place to come and see all the ships passing through and learn about all the history. If you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe to follow us along on our next adventures. Next up is Lima, Peru.